She's got a breakaway. She's all alone. She's going. She's going. Oh no, wrong goal, kiddo. It's chaos out there. Their stomachs don't have to be. Introducing Culturelle Kids Probiotics Plus Electrolytes. Sugar-free, more hydrating than water alone from the #1 pediatrician recommended brand. Youth soccer is never boring, but your kid's stomach should be. Culturelle Probiotics, the science of a boring gut. See website for details.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
Welcome to another episode of the Wisco Fanatic Show, where we cover the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, and Badgers basketball and football teams from an optimistic and realistic perspective.
Alrighty, welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. We are talking today all about the Wisconsin Badgers football team. You might be wondering if we talked about the Brewers trade deadline at all. We did make a post about that Monday after the trade deadline passed. I encourage you to go back and read it. It's pretty well fleshed out with everything the Brewers got, with what they gave up. And thank you to everybody who took the time to read that. Today, we were talking about Badgers football, and we're about to get started, and Jake and I are like, all right, let's talk about Badgers football. And it's like, feels like it's been a while, and it has. The last time we talked about it would have been in the spring when we had the transfer portal go through. So we're going to give basically a refresh of that today. We'll go through the departures and then all of the new guys coming to the team, whether it's transfer portal or the incoming recruiting class. And then we're going to give some X factors for offense and defense. So, Jake, I'll let you run through the departures if you want. Otherwise, I can rattle them off, and then we'll talk additions.
All right, so I just want to show everybody. This is my offensive page. I wrote down every single offensive player that left or came into the transfer portal. This is my defensive page. I wrote down every single player that left or came in. So I'm just letting you know, we wrote down a lot of stuff. We used to get the hand crampies, but now, we write so much that the hand don't crampy anymore. So with that being said, players that left, I'll just go position by position here. Quarterback, Billy Edwards Jr., he left. He is now at North Carolina. In terms of running back, Dylan Jones, he is now at LSU. Cade Yakimelli left. He's now at Miami of Ohio. Tretch Kekahuna followed Billy Edwards Jr. to North Carolina. Kyron Berry Johnson is at Sam Houston now. Joseph Griffin Jr. is at UMass. Going to tight ends, Tucker Ashcraft left Wisconsin. He's now at Southern California. Offensive lineman, Joe Brunner left, and he's now with the national champion Indiana Hoosiers. And Jake Renfro went down south, and he's at Illinois. That does it for offense. You want me to do defense too?
Run it.
All right, so defensive line, Ernest Willer Jr. is now at JMU. Jamal Howard Jr. is now at Sacramento State. Cody Raymond is now at Ohio University. In terms of linebacker, this one kind of hurts. Christian Allegro, somebody that me and you both really liked. He's at Ohio State. Tackett Curtis is now at University of Central Florida. And Ontario Turner is now at Colorado State. Safety room, Remington Moss is now at Elon. Preston Zachman also went to Indiana. Cornerbacks, Jeremiah Lattimore Jr. went to West Virginia, and Emilio Agard went to regular Virginia, not the West version. So that does it for departures.
Yeah, the other two things that I wanted to throw out, Charles Perkins and Eugene Hilton both entered and then withdrew from the transfer portal, so I just wanted to throw that out there. The Badgers were able to retain them. Two pretty important pieces, I think, actually, for this upcoming season. And then Torin Petaway is currently away from the team. I'm hoping something positive comes from that. But It sounds like a personal issue that Torrin Petaway is away from the team from the D-line room. So hopefully that can get figured out and he can get back with the team. As far as additions, you want to do offense or defensive additions first?
Let's do offense.
Okay. So offense, the Badgers got my number one guy, my number one transfer portal target at quarterback, Colton Joseph from Old Dominion. Love that. True dual threat.
And he wears number 1.
Nice. Love that. I'm not gonna. As we go through these, when we run through the offense, I'll give Jake a chance if there's some guys that he wants to highlight. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert and tell you that Colton Joseph is going to appear in a later segment on today's show.
Yep.
They also added Deuce Vaughn from Louisville. On the running back room, they added Abu Sama from Iowa State, Brian Jackson from USC, Zion Kearney from Oklahoma, and Nate Palmer. Sorry, not Zion Kearney's a wide receiver, not a running back. And then Nate Palmer from TCU. In the wide receiver room, they added Zion Kearney from Oklahoma, Shamar Rigby from Oklahoma State, Jalen Domingo from Southeastern Louisiana, Malachi Coleman from Minnesota, and Eli Adams from Louisville. At tight end, they added Jacob Harris from Bowling Green and Ryan Schwendeman from Southern Illinois. And then on the offensive line, they added Austin Kowecki, Blake Cherry, Lucas Simmons, PJ Wilkins, Styles Blackman from Oklahoma State, Arkansas, Florida State, Ole Miss, and South Dakota. Jake, looking at the offensive portal additions, is there anybody that jumps off the page to you that you just want to say keep an eye out for?
Yeah, obviously Colton Joseph goes without saying, most important position in sports. He's a dual threat guy. I've been calling for a dual threat quarterback for probably the last 4 years, it feels like.
Since we started the show, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm like being dead serious. I'm like, okay, college football, you need a dual threat quarterback. In the NFL, it could be a different story, style of offense, all that other stuff. But in college football, these guys can't read defenses and stuff at an elite level like a pro can, so you need to be able to improvise and use your legs. So Colton Joseph obviously fits that mold. So very important position, great transfer portal get, great call by you as well. Abu Sama the third, he's a tough runner. Brian Jackson the second, also a really tough runner. I think the running back room is going to have some juice this year.
He's got some
hopefully,
beef, by the way. Brian Jackson is 6 foot 235.
Yeah, he's put together. So the running game needs to be better, and I think it will be. I think the offensive line is going to be a little bit better. I like Styles Jackman. Actually, he's the offensive lineman we got from the Augusta Vikings, so I'm pretty excited for him. I think I don't think he'll play this year, but I think going into next season he'll be a name to watch out for. And I really like Jacob Harris. I know he's not a burner, but he seems sure-handed. He runs crisp routes. He's a willing blocker in the run game. So I think that Jacob Harris is going to be, a sight for sore eyes for Badgers fans. When, we were growing up, we always had a tight end. It always felt like we always had a running back, offensive line, and a tight end. We could just never get the quarterback position right. And every once in a while, we'd have one of those superstar wide receivers, like when we had Lee Evans and stuff like that back in the day. So I think Jacob Harris is going to be a great addition, and spoiler alert on him as well.
Yeah, and the other one I want to throw out there is Austin Kowecki. He is a average run blocker, but he is a fantastic pass blocker. So a guy that can hopefully give Colton Joseph some time. Lucas Simmons from Florida State is 6 foot 8, 311 pounds. That guy sounds like a Badger.
Fucking A.
I would have maybe liked to see one more tight end added in the portal, but not going to complain. And then just the one guy that when we first discussed the incoming transfer portal additions, Jalen Domingo's numbers just jumped off the page. He's 6'2", 210, so he's not like a crazy sized wide receiver or anything, but he came from a very small school, southeastern Louisiana. He had 52 catches for 857 yards and 11 touchdowns last season. I like that the Badgers, they're like, okay, we'll grab an Oklahoma guy, and we'll steal a guy from Minnesota. Malachi Coleman is 6'5", 200.
Yeah, big guy.
Grabbed a guy from Louisville. They've put some wide receivers in the NFL recently. And then they're like, all right, we're just going to go down a level, and we're going to grab the best guy from D3 who's got insane numbers and just bring him up and just see what happens. That's kind of how I feel about Jalen Domingo, and I really want to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he cracks the wide receiver rotation, but we're going to be talking about some wide receivers later as well, so spoiler alert on that. But it's go to the defensive side. On the D-line, the Badgers added Junior Poyser from Buffalo, Hammond Russell from West Virginia, Jake Anderson from Illinois State, DeNigel Cooper from Appalachian State. For edge rushers, they added Justice Boone from Arkansas, Jaden Lofton from Tennessee, Liam Danitz from Hope College. Going to talk about him in a second. Linebackers, they added John Kamara from Kansas. And then for DBs, they added cornerbacks, Eric Fletcher from Oklahoma State, Kai Bates from Florida State, Javon Robinson from Arizona State, Bryce West from Ohio State. And then for the safety room, they added Marvin Burks from Mizzou and Carson Van Dinter from Iowa State, the pride of Kaukauna, Wisconsin, to add another Wisconsin boy to the Badgers the DB room there. So, Jake, on the defensive side of the ball, anybody that stands out to you that you want to say something before we start moving into freshmen?
Yeah, a few guys. Jacob Anderson, he really feels like a guy that wasn't recruited heavily coming out of high school. He put the work in at a college, a smaller D1 college like Illinois State, and now he's getting his opportunity. He's a big guy too, 6'5", near 300 pounds. He's a good run defender. Yep. It's almost J.J. Watt-esque, so it's kind of giving me some reminiscent feelings about that, because J.J. Watt was not highly recruited out of high school, came to Wisconsin, and obviously turned into a star. I'm not saying he's going to turn into that, but Jacob Anderson's a really big pickup. And this D-line, they needed a facelift. So they did a nice job pulling in all these guys. And they got a bunch of different guys. Like you're going to talk about Liam Danitz. That's another guy that's kind of different who plays with his hair on fire, is all I'll say about him. Linebacker John Kamara, guy brings the boom, man. He is not afraid to hit, and in the Big Ten, that's needed, that's necessary, along with the other two big-time linebackers that I'm going to talk about later. In the room with John Kamara, I think the Badgers' run defense is going to be really, really good this year. Marvin Burks, dude, that guy is such a throwback at safety, man. Like, if there wasn't all these player safety rules, which I advocate for, yep. Don't get me wrong, I advocate for player safety, but Marvin Burks back in the day would have been a problem. He literally seeks out contact, and I love that. I need that out of my safeties. I want the wide receivers and tight ends to be a little bit scared.
Yeah.
And give me some alligator arms, trying to catch a ball over the middle. I feel like he's that kind of guy. And Eric Fletcher Jr. out of Oklahoma State, when I was looking at the 2D, when I was writing all these transfer portal down, he's projected to be a starter, so that's going to be pretty important on the outside. But there was a lot of talk about Bryce West coming out of Ohio State as well. He was a 4-star recruit, so big time stuff in the cornerback room. They tried to add some talent, some speed, some length. So obviously I also love Carson Van Dinter, like you said, pride of Kaukauna, Wisconsin, the Ghosts, coming back to Wisconsin after he was a bench player for Iowa State. But hopefully he can provide some good depth for the Badgers in an area where they've kind of struggled last year, was giving up some big plays. He's a big, long athlete as well. So if the D-line can play a little bit faster, the run defense can be shored up, with John Kamara coming on over, I think these DBs are in for a big season.
Yeah, I really like the addition of Junior Poyser from Buffalo. I think Buffalo is kind of an underrated football school, if I'm being honest. 6'2", 315. He had 22 run stops and 5 sacks and 24 pressures as a D lineman last year.
That's pretty good.
So his numbers look good. And then you get down to Liam Danitz, and I highlighted him when we talked in the spring. Him coming out of Hope College, you're like, oh my God, what the hell is that? What is Hope College? Is it like a D5 school? He was receiving offers from Ole Miss, James Madison, Louisiana Tech, Western Kentucky, and UCLA. The Badgers were not the only Power 5 team poking around Liam Danitz. And that's essentially what the transfer portal is all about, really. Like, yes, people talk about it, and they're like, oh, well, it's so guys can get paid, and they can go from Georgia to Alabama to LSU to USC and to Indiana, so they can make big bucks and be champions and make millions of dollars before they even hit the NFL. That's not really what the transfer portal is about. The transfer portal, in my mind, is about getting it so that guys that succeed at lower levels have an opportunity to move up, almost like a minor league type system, and be able to find those diamonds in the rough more easily than you would have previously. And that's why I say with Jalen Domingo, Liam Danitz is basically the defensive version of that. You go way down a couple levels and you say, who's the best guy at this level? Let's see if he can perform up here. So him coming from Hope College, he's 6'5", 227, so he's got edge rusher size. Maybe he puts on another 20 pounds or so as he gets older. He had 15 sacks last season. If he cuts that in half, that would be fantastic. I would love to have an edge rusher give you 7.5 sacks this season.
As a backup, hell yeah.
As a rotational guy.
Fuck.
For comparison, Mason Rieger last year was 6'5", 248. So like I said, if Liam Danitz can put on 20 pounds of muscle as he grows, you're done. And you have a prototypical edge. Great speed, great motor. He was an All-American in track, which is great to have a guy that does that. He was also followed on social media by coaches from Alabama, Michigan, and Oregon. So trust that Wisconsin is not the only Power 5 team. Looking down at the lower levels and being like, can we find something down here? They're treating it like scouting.
Well, I mean, you're talking about money, and D3, you're probably not making a lot of money, if any, actually.
Right.
And, these bigger schools are probably like, hey, we could probably get a really good player for cheap, bringing these guys up to our big-time schools. So that's also another, side of the coin that you have to look at.
100%. All right. Looking at incoming freshmen. So the Badgers, they had one 4-star coming in the 2026 class. That is defensive lineman Jiju Ba. Everybody else that I'm going to rattle off real quick, they are all 3 stars. So quarterback, Ryan Hopkins. Running back, Juju Pope. Wide receivers, Cash Brock, Zion Legri, and Keyshawn Tabuto. Tight end, Jack Severs. O-line, they added Brady Beckenhuis. Also on the D-line, they added Arthur Scott III. Edge, Yaya God. Linebacker, Ben Wenzel from Appleton, so another Wisconsin guy. And then cornerbacks, Carson Elams and Donovan Dunmore. Anybody that's really you're thinking about that, like, hey, this is a freshman who might get some playing time? Go ahead.
I don't think there's going to be very much. This year, I don't know if this is a hot take. This year is too important to Fickle for him to be flexing it on freshmen. Yeah. And I understand, there was some comments that were made at the Big Ten Media Day where he talked about some freshmen that kind of changed the way that they were thinking. But they brought in 33 transfer portal players, bro.
Yeah.
I don't think that many of the freshmen are going to be cracking any playing time, if you want me to be realistic about it. I think the players that they brought in from the transfer portal are going to be the ones that kind of right the ship in the right direction.
Yep.
And then they're going to develop some of these younger guys so that over the course of the next 2 or 3 years that things are going in the Wisconsin Badgers way that we expect and we grew up on.
I think Jiju Ba being the highest rated freshman at a position where things are playing time's a little questionable maybe. That's maybe the only one that I throw out there. I will say there have been a lot of positive things coming out about Ryan Hopkins, but again, not sure that he cracks the top 3 or 4. He's probably competing with Carter Smith for QB3.
I mean, I guess I'd have to see what some of the...
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
Dollar amounts where if I was going to make an actual assumption, I'd have to see the dollar amounts that some of these guys from transfer portal are being paid, because as much as we don't want to admit it, that does matter. I mean, it's just like real sports, right? with the Brewers, like not trying to switch too many gears, but people are talking about benching Yelich, because his batting average is going down, all this stuff. He's getting paid $26 million, and he's the top locker room guy on the team. He's not getting benched. You can move him down the lineup every once in a while till he kind of figures some things out. He's trying to do batting stance and all this stuff, so he's trying to figure it out, but you're not going to bench Yelich. That's just not how that works. So dollar amount does factor into play here, but that's not a bad pick. If you're going to go for a guy, probably the highest rated one that you got. It makes a lot of sense to me as well.
Yeah, I mean, similarly with, the money's going to be on the field. I mean, Cooper Pratt and Luis Lara were both extended. They're both in the bigs play.
100%. And honestly, both of them have been good. They've been some of the better players over the last month. There's a lot of players that are main names on this Brewers team that need to start stepping up a little bit. There was two last night that from last year's team that were good last year, and they stepped up last night for a win, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. All right. You ready to give some X factors?
I do.
Offense or defense?
Let's go defense first because I cheated on defense.
Okay. All right. Give me your first defensive X factor.
All right. So I was just talking about the Big Ten Media Day, and Fickle was kind of tiptoeing around. He also went on Big Cat's show. I forgot what it's called. I forgot the name of it. He went on there, and he was talking about these two guys as well. But my first one is the linebacker duo of Cooper Catalano and Mason Posa. Not only do they bring toughness to this team, they bring speed, they bring play recognition, they bring intensity, they bring heart. And for everything that we talked about over the last 2 years when this thing just started to just nosedive into the ground, it seemed like, and it felt like when we were watching it, it was like, dude, who is this? I don't know who this is. This is not who I grew up watching. Not the white helmet with the red W that would throw 70 on you and run the ball 85 times. This was not that team. They needed to find people that were going to bring heart and bring passion back to this fan base, and I think they found it with these two guys. If nothing else, they bring energy, and I couldn't pick both of them, for my two, because I was like, dude, that kind of sucks. So I put them both in one because I had to.
So Mason Posa is one of mine.
Yes.
I did put in my notes that it's super low-hanging fruit, but I put in my notes that he wants to be a Badger and he wants to make Wisconsin linebacker university again.
Yeah.
What makes him an X factor for me is that he is a culture setter. So like all the things that Jake was just talking about, like having guys that want to wrap up and tackle, having guys that want to stick their nose in the middle of a defense, guys that want to smack a running back, guys that want to play mean, having that kind of mentality. Like you said, a lot of my stuff notes are going to come from Fickle talking a media day, but he talked about the turning point of the 2025 season. Yep. And youth stepping up at that turning point, where some of the more veteran guys in the locker room are kind of just like, all right, well, I'm just going to transfer out at the end of the season, so I don't really give a shit about the rest of the year.
Yep.
Fickle didn't say that, but like Jake was alluding to, he kind of tiptoed around some of that stuff, and youth stepped up. These guys were brought up. The guys that he brought up weren't, necessarily named, but the ones that I think he's referring to were Mason Posa and Cooper Catalano. And then he also brought up Matt Young at times. He described them as like the roots for the team, for the culture. So Mason Posa, whether you consider it low-hanging fruit or not, he is an X factor for the Badgers defense. So who is your next one?
I'm just going to piggyback off your comments real quick. I think one of the players that was a person that was like, I'm just going to transfer out is a guy that didn't play over the last couple of weeks and transferred to Indiana this last year, so he's definitely a front runner. I have some big feelings about Preston Zachman. I think he quit on the team last year, and he's one of the more important players going into last season. So just my opinion, that's how I feel. My second one is also two people because I'm a cheater and I love defense, and I loved when the Badgers were one of the best defenses in the nation. Like that just fed my soul, because at that same time when the Badgers were one of the top defenses, the Packers sucked on defense. So it was like on Saturday, all right, if we scored 15 points, we're gonna win.
Right.
And then on Sunday it was like, if Rodgers can throw 4 touchdowns and we run one in, we're gonna win.
First one to 40 wins. All right.
It was such a Jekyll and Hyde situation for me. So my second one is the pass rush duo of Sebastian Cheeks, who's a graduate, and Tyrese Fiersbury, who's a redshirt senior. So these guys have been around. They played a lot of college football. And the Badgers, they need to create pressure. And to create turnovers, you need to create pressure. When you create turnovers, you get the ball in the hands of the offense more. I just explained football 101 to you. We just brought in a quarterback that I'm sure we paid a pretty penny to. I don't think that Culver's patch got on that jersey by accident, is all I'm going to say. All I'm going to say. We also brought in a couple running backs. So you want to give the ball to them more often so they can score more points. I want to get back to the days where we're scoring 50, 60, 70 points, when we play like Eastern Michigan and stuff early in the year. I want to just drown these dudes. I want to beat their ass. You knew it was a bad sign last year. Who the hell we play week 1? God damn it, I don't remember. Should have wrote it down. I wrote it in my notes. It was a bad sign week 1. When they won like 24-14, you're like, oh boy. It was like a couple of years ago when we played Buffalo. Remember that? Fickle's first game?
Yeah.
And I know that Buffalo is one of the better teams, but you're Wisconsin. You're supposed to be beating the hell out of these teams. They should have at least scored 40. You got to beat them like 40-17. That feels pretty comfortable. Not be tied with them at half and stuff like that.
You're talking about the days where you play Central Michigan and you win 31-3.
Yeah, like we need to get back to those days where you don't have to show your entire playbook against one of those teams. You know what I'm saying? So pass rush duo is going to be really important this year. They obviously, like I said, I've said it a couple times. They brought in a bunch of people for the transfer portal for the defensive line. So they were like, okay, we're going to be a good front seven this year, and then whatever happens on the back end is going to be on them.
We tied this up in a really nice, neat little bow. We didn't plan this, by the way, either. We talked about it.
No.
We're like, hey, if a guy ends up on an X Factor list for both of us, that just highlights how important of an X Factor he is. And when Jake's talking about edge rushers and needing to have a good pass rush so you can get turnovers, I looked at the secondary and I'm like, we need somebody in the secondary who's going to step up. And I almost was going to go with Matt Young, but I wanted to go with my list. I wanted to put one guy who is a transfer portal and one guy who's a returning player. So with Mason Posa being a returning player, my second defensive X Factor is a transfer portal guy, and I picked Bryce West. The Badgers need to improve in the secondary. The Badgers defense last year ranked 56th in passing yards per game, 103rd out of 134 in completion percentage, and 117 in interceptions per game. Luke Fickell spoke extremely highly of Bryce West when talking about him during media days. Talked highly of him on the practice field, talked highly about him as a leader and as an insightful transfer. He was asked the question like 4 separate times, do you ask your incoming transfers how other schools are doing things? And one of the things that he talked about is Bryce West coming from Ohio State. He didn't name Ohio State, but he said, a guy like Bryce West coming from the program that he did is able to tell us some of the things that they're doing over there. And as annoying as it is to admit, Ohio State is obviously doing things right to be constantly ranked in the top 5 every year.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, like, yeah, it sucks because they're a team that you want to beat the shit out of, but you can't because they're doing things better than you are right now. We are Wisco Fanatics. We are optimistic, but we are being realistic right now. Ohio State is one of the classes of the Big Ten. They are the reason, one of the reasons why the Big Ten is closing in on being a better football conference than the SEC.
Yeah, if Oregon, I think if Oregon's the team that could tip the scale. If they go on and win the national championship this year, then they made the right move bringing some of those West Coast teams over.
Yeah. And, I mean, USC hasn't been what they were right before they got to the Big Ten since they've been in it yet either.
They're pretty highly ranked this year, though. Yeah. They're in the high teens, I think. So they're looking to have a better year.
But I mean, like right before they were in the Big Ten, they were pretty consistently top 5.
Right.
But like I said, I mean, getting guys from Ohio State and being like, what are they doing over there that's working? Obviously, I think that makes sense to do that, even though, like I said, it's annoying to give a rival respect. But like I said, they're obviously doing things well over there. So let's switch to the offensive side of the ball. Jake, give me your first offensive X Factor.
All right, so my first one is Abu Sama III. The Badgers' running game is really the history bloodline of this university, going back to the days when we started to get good under Barry Alvarez, right? We had our one and only Heisman Trophy winner was a running back. Just going back to the glory days. I keep going back to the glory days of us when we were growing up in the late 2000s to the early 2010s, mid 2010s. I mean, late 2010s you could talk about with Jonathan Taylor, but we just always had a stud running back, and I think that Sama is that guy. He's a power back, but he also has a little bit of wiggle, and he's a guy that is trying to get some national name recognition, in my opinion, as well. So going from the Big 12, Iowa State, I mean, you play a couple teams over there. I mean, like Texas Tech has gotten good over the last couple of years. BYU's gotten some name recognition, but being in the Big Ten, it's really the Big Ten and the SEC, right? They're the two conferences that people talk about. You're in the conference with Michigan, Indiana, Ohio State. That's the last three national champions. Oregon, USC. You're talking about a lot of big-time programs getting a lot of attention, right? So,
Penn State used to be in there.
Penn State still, yeah, overall, and we play Penn State this year. The Iowa game's big time because people respect Iowa. Mm-hmm. I mean, so if he could put on and be one of the driving forces to this offense, turning it around, I think that that's going to be a win-win for both of us. Also, I cannot wait to say this every Saturday. Give me some more. Give me some more, right? You get it? Give me some more. No, I thought it was clever.
We'll see.
Sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss, but you got to shoot it every time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, shoot, all right?
Right.
You got to tell me twice. All right, my first one is Colton Joseph. Like I said,
yes, my
number one transfer portal target. I feel like Fickle during media day said it like 100 times that they're going to play around the skills of the quarterback. Mm-hmm. And Colton Joseph was the best dual threat quarterback available in the transfer portal, and the Badgers went and got him. I really can't overstate how excited I am to watch Colton Joseph play for the Badgers. Seeing how even guys like even under Phil Longo, guys like Tanner Mordecai and Tyler Van Dyke being able to run the ball a little bit, and then under Jeff Grimes, seeing Carter Smith, he looked like a dual threat quarterback. True. Now they went and got a guy who was actually that style of play. They went and got a true dual threat quarterback, not a kind of pocket guy that they're going to turn into a dual threat. The Badgers went and got the best one that was available. I cannot wait to watch Colton Joseph. The Badgers are going to be starting practice this week, and I can't wait to hear Colton Joseph. I'm seriously going to feed into it, just because of how excited I am that the Badgers went and got the best quarterback that they could. All right, who's your second X factor on offense?
So my second X factor is Jacob Harris. Like I said, tight end is a position of necessity, in my opinion, for the Badgers offense to be successful. Also, a good tight end in short yardage situations could be a quarterback's best friend, right? So you have the ability to, throw it with Colton Joseph. You have the ability to have him in a quarterback option play with, Sama, and, hand it off or take it himself. But if you have that other element where, you can still run that and make it an RPO, where if Jacob Harris, he's a big body guy. He's listed at 6'6", 270 pounds. I wrote they need a short yardage guy, a one-on-one winner, a red zone big body. I think a guy who could be a red zone winner in the short yardage situations could be absolutely vital to flipping this record from 5-7 to 8-4 or 7-5, making them bowl eligible. I mean, there's a couple big time games. I mean, they play Notre Dame, obviously, to start the season at Lambeau Field. That's a Sunday, September 6th, by the way. Everybody has Monday off. I know everybody has Monday off because that's Labor Day, so let's just sit back and enjoy that one. That one's at 6:30 at night. Cannot wait for that one. They play Iowa at home on the road this year. They play USC at home. They got a lot of big-time games this year, and having a guy who can win those one-on-one short yardage situations could really flip games. On top of, like you talked about, Eugene Hilton coming back. I expect a lot of big things out of Hilton, too. He was my second choice. I was this freaking close, dude. I was like, I want to put Eugene Hilton on one of these lists, but I just feel that the need for a tight end is so much needed in a run-first style offense.
So my second X factor is a wide receiver.
Yes.
And it's Chris Brooks.
Oh, okay.
I think he has a very good chance to lead the Badgers in a lot of receiving stats. It's going to be between him and Hilton, like you were just saying. But I think Chris Brooks has a chance to be like 2024 Vinny Anthony, who was a very level production that's going to run the ball 60% of the time on the team, but still be able to put up some production. So 2024 Vinny Anthony had 39 catches for 672 yards and 4 touchdowns. And I think he is one of the 3 guys that would kind of represent the veteran leadership of the team, especially offensively. He's been here for a while now, and his role has kind of steadily increased. So, like I said, and with him being a willing blocker and stuff too, he's just a guy who's going to be on the field offensively a lot. I really feel like he's got a chance to be like that 2024 version of Vinny Anthony.
I'm with that. I love that prediction.
All right. Well, next week we will be back with more Badgers football. Next week we will be talking bold and record predictions, and then some buy or sell with Badgers football. So stay tuned for that next week. Jake's going to be doing his earlier in the afternoon, and then I'll be doing mine at our regular scheduled time of 4 o'clock. But stay tuned. We're definitely going to have more Badgers content coming out, more Brewers content coming out, and coming Tuesday, we start our Packers shows. So we are less than a week away from starting Packers shows, and then we are live every single Tuesday night until the Packers season is over, whenever that may be. We're starting it up on Tuesday. So next week we'll be back with a lot more football, not just college, but NFL. And as always, if there's stuff you want to hear us talk about, let us know, and we'll cover it. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.